Today we get to see an innocent swagger wagon pay for a violent felon's crimes.
She was a hoopty and a half.
Hi friends, welcome to today's lesson here at Active Self-Protection, bonus badge cam lesson I should say. I'm John Correa and with me the host of the Ask Podcast, Mike Williver.
And today's video comes to us from Las Vegas, California?
No.
Nevada.
MagTech has maintained their high quality during the ammo panic and ramped production to the max. Their ammo is the only ammo I run on the range because of its performance and reliability. I recommend MagTech wholeheartedly. Officers have been called to this mobile home community because a resident of the community has called 911 and said there's a guy wandering around the neighborhood with a gun in his hand. That's a pretty serious issue. Officers are going to respond. Let's listen into their badge cams.
Where are you headed to? Where are you headed to? Which one's your house? The first one? Can I talk to you for a minute? Come on over here. What's that? What's that? Come. All right. Come on over here. Face the car. Turn around. Let me make sure you don't have any weapons on you. Shoot. You better get on the ground. Drop the gun. Drop the gun. You better drop the gun. 444 shots fired. He's running northbound. Let me make sure you don't have any weapons on you.
This guy did run away, even though he was hit at least once with a bullet. He jumped over a fence and then gave up the ghost. He made it through this one and is facing a host of charges. I don't think the minivan made it through this. That minivan definitely took the mobile home community temperature challenge.
RIP.
Here's your invite from me to come check out the Active Self-Protection podcast. Mike, we do focus on private citizen stories, but we've got a couple of great law enforcement incidents too.
We've had a number of cops recently, and the stories are very harrowing for the most part. Check it out. It's on every major podcast outlet.
So officers get called to this one, Mike, a guy walking around with a gun. Now, they see this first guy here. He doesn't necessarily have a gun, but of course they're just investigating who's around, what's going on. And so I think people see this one, they go, well, why did they detain this guy? Because they had to in investigating this report.
When you get this call, odds are they had some kind of physical descriptions. They weren't just picking someone randomly. This guy probably meant at least part of that description, although descriptions can be wrong. People call in some wrong stuff all the time, but odds are they saw this guy, he matched the description in some way, shape, or form, so we're at least going to detain him and speak to him. They're well within their authority to do that.
I also think the thing that I noticed about the officer is he wasn't like hardcore on the guy. He didn't use a real stern voice. I think he tried to do a pretty good job of just kind of staying chill. Hey man, do me a favor, come here. I need to talk to you. I need to pat you down real quick and make sure that you're not a threat to me or whatever. So I think he tried to maintain a very respectful attitude, but the perp gets a vote.
You know, as well, it's worth noting, there could be a reason, a good reason, a legal reason why someone is walking around at some part of this mobile home community with a firearm in their hand. Could be someone just tried to rob him. It could be someone broke into his house or someone was breaking into his car, whatever the case may be. So we can't just shoot the guy rolling up if he has a gun in his hand. That wasn't the case here, but I just wanted to point out there could be a reason,
sure,
a legal reason why he was doing that.
Well, of course, we do know the reason in this particular case is because he's a prohibited possessor in possession of a firearm. Now, we could talk about that till the day is done, but I want you to recognize what this officer is doing here. He is gathering information and saying, hey, do me a favor, turn around and face the car. I need to pat you down for my safety. And again, this is not the kind of issue that, I get it, in our culture today. We're really worried about this kind of stuff, but I think this officer handled it right. He closed enough distance on the guy. I just want to check in, make sure we're safe, and make sure that there's not somebody who's doing something illegal here. And guess what? Pop goes the weasel. He found somebody who was doing something illegal.
He really did. You know, whenever I watch these videos now, John, being retired, A, I'm glad I'm retired. B, I get that same feeling in my stomach that this officer has right now. This is not going well. This is almost certainly going to be my guy. He's not cooperative. What's about to happen?
So thinking through that, recognizing, okay, am I ready emotionally for that? is an important part. It's one of the reasons that we put these videos out, to give you mental reps in order to go. So guy takes off, our officer starts the chase, but recognize officer's just chasing him there and called in the foot pursuit, and now the gun comes out in the moment where our perp drew his gun. Now, why did he run from the cops? Because he's a prohibited possessor with a gun on him, so he doesn't want to go back to jail. I will say this, as the officer brings that gun out there, he had a bit of a hard time getting a proper grip on that gun when it first came out of the holster. That makes sense because he's running, but maybe this is something to practice in training with a blue gun or, you know, another inert training tool of getting that gun out with a positive, full firing grip when it comes out of the holster.
Something I don't think we ever trained is drawing a gun from a full sprint. That's something I never thought about till we just watched this video. It's actually a great idea. Get in the mat room, get your blue gun on, and run as fast as you can. Maybe run a couple of laps to get your adrenaline, or, you know, get yourself heaving and your blood pumping, and then try to draw the thing and see what happens, and then work on it from there.
And do it a few times, because it's something we see officers have to do in real life all the time, though it's not something I see people actually train very often. Now, officer gets first shot off on this guy, all right? So why? Because the guy is turned towards him with a gun. I recognize it's a little hard to see. We're going to see in just a second that the perp is going to take a shot at the officer as he comes back here. Man, we say this all the time. The first person to put a shot in the meaty bits of the other guy almost always wins the gunfight. And I don't know if he got the hit here, but recognize your first shot is almost certainly going to be your best shot.
I'm not tired of talking about this. I should be, but I'm not. First round hits are a great way to introduce your perp to the gunfight. We're in a gunfight now, and you just got shot.
Right.
So how about that?
Now, I'm not saying to slow down. I'm saying to be careful.
Deliberate. More deliberate, yeah.
That means I will get a hit. My first shot is going to hit. So that's got to be your mindset, because again, that guy's going to shoot back at you, and your skill set, your being the higher skill set, is what is going to win you that gunfight 99% of the time. So that means you've got to train your skills to be able to get that hit.
We see here he's fixed his grip, by the way.
He has got the grip fixed at that point. Now notice here what goes down. Notice officer's gun's already gone off. The perp gets the shot back at him. Real gunfights are two-way events. Of course, we would rather be in a shooting than a gunfight. We would always rather just have him go down, but he gets a vote in that too.
Bad guy streaks back. What else are you supposed to do? You got to keep going. You got to stay in the fight, and you got to put this guy down as quickly as you can, even if that means the loss of a shaggin' wagon.
The loss of the minivan in the driveway. Now, that being said, guys, listen, you got to get a hit on this guy. This guy is now willing to murder you to not go back to jail. All of the misses in the world, this emotional shooting, and we're going to talk about this with the other officer in just a minute. Hits are what ends gunfights, and that means grip is the master, sight set the pace, trigger is the servant. And I know I say that all the time. I use that mantra for a reason, because it's repeatable and easy to remember. More grip on the gun is probably the key to getting a hit for the vast majority of people. Now watch as it's slowed down here. He is just going to absolutely riddle this minivan with bullets. And while I do like it on the one hand, because at least he's not saying, hey, I have to stop shooting because this guy's through a minivan. That said, thank God that minivan didn't have people in it.
Yeah, this is a tough one. I mean, I watch him shooting through it, and I mean, odds are it's parked. It's been parked there. There's probably nobody in it, but I don't want to shoot through something thinking probably. Like you said, I love the fact he didn't stop shooting just because there was something in between him and the bad guy. That's a common thing where it's like you could be holding a clipboard and someone's going to try to shoot around the clipboard. So in this case, I'm glad he didn't let that stop him necessarily, but the fact that somebody could have been in there, that would have been a really bad day for him.
Yeah. Next thing I do want to see here is the guy is full back presentation. He is showing us his back. So is it justified to shoot somebody in the back?
Yes.
In this case, absolutely. He is a deadly threat to the officer and to the rest of the community. I got no problems with that. But again, misses don't end gunfights. So if you're going to take that shot, this is why I would prefer a pistol-mounted optic, because of these distances that open up this quickly. Now, I also want you to notice here that the officer is on his radio, and you can see right here that the perp is still in sight. That perp is still at the officer. Now, I get it that you want to get help on the way, but you literally have everything you need to win the fight with you at the fight, including a partner. So stay off the radio until you finished at least the immediate shooting portion of the fight.
That's critical, and not just because it's it's harder to shoot him. This guy's still in range. He can still shoot you from this range. So.
And has shot at you.
Yeah, for sure. And so the idea that you're going to be on the radio right now, that radio is going to do you any good whatsoever in this moment. in about 4 seconds maybe, right this minute, you need to have 2 hands on that gun and still be firing at that guy as he flees, because who knows where he's going next.
It's a big deal. Please, stay off the radio, guys. Only communicate on the radio after everything else is done. Aviate first, then navigate, then finally communicate, right? That's got to be at the end.
And I say that as someone who's been in a similar, never shot in the line of duty, but someone who's been in similar situations, who absolutely got on my radio when I shouldn't have, who absolutely was calling for cover or doing whatever when I should have been dealing with the issue. This is new to me, John. This concept of staying off the radio until this mess of a fight is over is something I learned from you after I retired. It never something I thought about before. Stay off the radio. Stay off the radio. Stay off the radio.
And I'm not saying stay off the radio forever. I'm saying win the fight definitively first, then get help on the
100%.
This emotional firing, we're going to talk about from the second officer's perspective as well, because we're going to see the same thing happen. Guy runs off, his partner is going to see the gun, and he's going to tell him multiple times, drop the gun, drop the gun, drop the gun. Okay, so the officer decides, I got to get after it here as well. This guy is going to be a threat to everyone. Now, I want to notice this. This is actually our officer's second shot. A couple things here. This is what we would call emotional shooting, because the gun is clearly down and out of the line of sight of the officer. He's not accessing his sights at all. I can't see through the officer's eyes here, but it doesn't look like he can see the perp from this place. So this is what we would call emotional shooting. He's just yelling at the perp using his gun, and that's not helpful.
Can't do this, ladies and gentlemen. We cannot be sending rounds downrange that aren't very, very deliberate. You've got to be deliberate when you shoot that gun. Your backstop is houses and maybe people out and about. I don't know, but this is we just can't do this.
And I get it. I don't want to be too critical of the officer here. Thank God nobody was hurt. Okay, fine, no harm, no foul. Success is a wonderful deodorant and all that stuff. Dangerous stuff. And I also want you to watch how fast this officer is taking shots while he is not accessing his sights. He knows the guy's coming his way, so now watch, he's going to back up. See the guy here, okay, fine, but notice that his gun is below his eyesight. It's missing low. He's way down low and just firing from an emotional perspective. That's not going to end this fight. It would be a miracle to get a hit from that. So instead, I would rather see somebody take the care to see their sights and get the shot where they want it, rather than firing multiple shots, hoping one of them works.
I'm glad this ended well.
Yeah, me too. So again, success is a wonderful deodorant. Thank God this guy's in custody. The officers did a fine job. But listen, marksmanship is the key here, and I think you really build this one with force-on-force training, so make sure that you're getting to it, even if you got to pay for it yourself, because one day, it might cover your ass.